Hi, everyone. Welcome to Stream and Hub Radio. I am Sage Stevens, the host of Shout Out with Sage. Today, my guest is a Hollywood staple. Most recently, he directed Crescent City, starring Terrence Howard, Esai Morales, Nicky, Whelan, and Alec Baldwin. Also, the comedy feature film Don't Suck, starring Matt Rife, Jamie Kennedy, Russell Peters, my fellow Canadian, and Ellen Hollman. His first directorial debut was American Sicario, which was released by Lionsgate and Saban. And most recently, he formed his production company, Elevate Media Partners. And today, I want to welcome to the show RJ Collins. Hi, RJ. How are you?
Very good. How are you? Excuse the car, but I couldn't get to the right location on time. So
That's all right. You're not the first. You won't be the last.
yeah, like I said, my car is like 4 or 5 productions these days anyways. I'm in my Tesla back and forth all the time. So
that's good. Yeah, you were saying earlier you were going to name it. You should name it the 405 production company.
I really should. Yeah, I mean, half the deals and calls we're doing is on the 405 heading up and down the coast here. So
you recently just wrapped filming on Crescent City, correct?
Yes. So we did that in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was kind of a perfect storm of getting the SAG waiver, having it be a full independent film. So we were allowed to shoot it, and we raising the money and everything. It just kind of all came together pretty fast. And it was a script that one of my best friends, and I call him my partner in crime in Hollywood, Rich Ronet. He's we kind of grew in the industry together. He's a writer now. He just directed his first feature as well. He's an amazing partner of mine. He's written many scripts that I've produced, and he also wrote American Sicario that we directed together. And we've had a great partnership, and it was great to have my third film also written by Rich. Don't Suck, the second film I did, was written by Rick D'Elia. He's a phenomenal comedian, and we could talk about Don't Suck next. But so Crescent City came together. We took it to Little Rock, Arkansas. I've never been there in my entire life. Went there, and the film commissioner, Chris Crane, was an amazing guy. He literally almost picked me up from the airport and took me on a location scout himself. So friendly. Like, I've never had a film commissioner be so hands-on.
Okay.
You know, we even had a drink at the end of the day. We laughed, we talked about our lives and our kids and our families. And he loved the script. And, Rich and I kind of based this story off of a bunch of serial killer the way they killed their victims. And we kind of made a collage of a perfect storm of these guys. And
like their methodology and how they went about it.
Yeah, their mindset, the reasoning behind what they did, but we really didn't want to go too far into depth into all of them. So we kept it fiction, but it's really based after true events.
Okay. When it comes to story, what do you look for when you're, developing a screenplay or picking something to film?
It's funny. There are so many different types of films that I like. I'm a very easy audience member. But it's usually just the story itself, the writing, something that's really, I know, is also going to be an international market as well as domestic. Just because I was a child actor and started producing at 21. I'm now a lot older, 25 plus years doing producing and now directing. I really just want stories that move me and like something that's unique about them, where I know I'm going to have an amazing cast that'll be attracted to do the film. It's kind of like I just look at it from, like you said, the aspects of, all right, is this in my wheelhouse? Now, it's interesting. I'm clearly not a serial killer, and I'm frightened by them, but I did a lot of research on it, and this was just a story I had to tell. I was very passionate about it. I just go by what I feel like is going to be an amazing performance from my cast. And I just feel like the audience they just love these kind of movies. I have a huge influence. I love David Fincher and Tony Scott and many of the directors and their style, and Scorsese and their style, and just like the music and the color tones and just everything. So this movie felt a lot like Seven to me, and a few other blends of other films. I don't like to compare too much of other movies. I like to be kind of unique to our own story. But I mean, it was phenomenal doing it. I knew that if I did this film, I would attract the right cast to do it. So I try to find stuff that I like the story on, I like the writing, and I think that there's going to be a big draw for the cast to want to come and do it. As you know, cast is everything now to packaging, getting distribution, and raising money. So we try to find projects that.
Yeah, sorry. So can you go into that a little bit, like how you put the cast together to get the financing, and just sort of give us a little schooling?
Sometimes in producing and everything else, right, it's kind of the chicken and egg game. You kind of have to have the talent to get the money, but then you need the money to get the talent, right?
Right.
So sometimes it's relationship based, it's trust. You get the distributors interested in a story, and then you go out and you find the cast. This one, we had people interested before, but COVID hit and just kind of stopped the project. So then we kind of revamped it. I jumped on as the director, and then I just had some relationships I built to help us get Alec Baldwin. My other producing partner on this, Edward Ospov, he brought Terrence Howard onto the project. And once Terrence read the script and loved it, I mean, everybody loves Terrence Howard. So every actor was like, if Terrence is in, I'm in. You know, right. So it kind of trickled down, and then, Alec's in, so I'm going to do it. And then Esai came on board through a producer that's on this as well, David Lipper. He just happened to have Esai at one of his parties recently at his house. It's just funny how these things kind of happen.
Yeah. It's totally LA.
It is. It's totally LA. And so with the strike, and Nicky Whelan, I've known since, I mean, she's phenomenal. She's such a beautiful soul. And, you know, I cast her in a movie in 2007. We've been friends ever since then. And I have not worked with her again. We've tried a few times. And this one, she was available. Mm-hmm. So these four actors together with the other supporting cast, with Weston Cage, Coppola. Sorry, he's got two last names. Right. And then Michael Ciro and, Angel Nigam and a bunch of other people came onto the film, and we just had a great time doing it. But it is a lot of relationship based, or you have to have a really good offer to the agents to get their attention. Now with the strike happening, I support the SAG strike. I know what it's about, but we're an independent company, and we wanted to put people to work, and we did. And I felt really good about that. And the actors were really happy to go to work. And we had just a love fest on this project. The shooting was fast, but everybody brought it, and we're very excited for the release next year.
Cool. When you mentioned foreign sales, so how, for those people that don't know much about how all that works, can you explain sort of like how an actor, how all that works with actors having foreign, just, helping with your foreign distribution and all that stuff?
Yeah. So there's, all the foreign sales companies, they kind of have their lists, and they have their numbers that they know that these specific names trigger these kind of sales overseas from all territories, from France to Australia, the entire world. And so just talking with them over the years and being a part of the markets and everything else and selling other films, we've just kind of learned, and it changes, by the way. Lately, it's been changing day to day, but there are certain names that are staples, like I said, Alec Baldwin. I mean, unfortunately with the whole Rust thing, it wasn't fair in my opinion on that, and I'll stay out of the politics of that world. Right. But Alec is an amazing person, and his work over the years has been amazing. Yes. And so I'm just all about the work, and Alec is a staple, and he was such a pro. He came in, he shot, had a fun time with us. He was so good. All the actors loved working with him. Terrence Howard, his experience and him leading the pack there, being the lead with Esai, I mean, they just worked off each other perfectly. These guys always wanted to work together. It was almost felt like a Bad Boys kind of crew together. So we had a lot of fun doing it, and they trusted in me. I really give my actors freedom because I'm, actor first. Right. So I approach it as, here's the script, and we talk about their characters and how they see it, and then we kind of blend together their take on it. And then we did a couple of, tweaks of the script, because I like to give my actors the freedom. We go in, we block every scene before we shoot it. Things change on the fly. We make it work and just make it as honest and true to them and us in the story. And that's what I'm saying. It's like I give my actors a lot of freedom to bring. It's essentially this. I cast this actor. I know I'm getting from that person. And whatever they want to bring extra to it, it's just a bonus. And I accept it. I'm open arms about it. And I think that's where the actors feel the freedom with me is I'll give them that freedom. And then if we have to change it on, I'll give them that take, and then we'll try something different on that one to get my story part out. We do that. And so, it's just learning it and being comfortable with that, knowing that it's going to evolve and change. And as long as you make sure the story doesn't change too much off to the side, it's not going to work.
Right.
You know, we win on all time. And this is what the story did. It evolved as we were shooting it. And they all had great ideas for their characters. And we used that in the script. So I think people are going to be very happy with Crescent City.
So you have the script as like a guideline or like the base foundation, but then you'll allow the actors to like sort of go a little left or a little right. And then if they're going too far off, you bring them back in, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's not even that. It's more like we'll come up with a plan of what we want, the intention of that scene, and what the emotions I want out of that scene for them. And then, you know, if it evolves into whatever it is, it's fine. We, like you said, so we shoot the scene. And then if they have some ideas, then we'll do another take and let them kind of go off and be a little more free with it. And usually about 90% of the time, the actors spot on with the organic side to what they want to bring to it.
Well, at that level, I'm
like I said, I'm an audience member and I'm also, storytelling, but it's like, when you're working with these actors, it's just such a fun experience, and watching them bring it to life, it just makes my job a lot easier.
Right. How important is authenticity and creating that when you're taking the screenplay and turning it into the film? And how do you keep it like true?
You know, it's funny. I shoot things very practical. I'm not the big CGI specialist. I don't want to do all that stuff. I'm very true to the story. And everything for me has to feel very real. So even my stunt coordinator with the fighting sequences, we made it like, there's no like crazy stunts where you're like, that couldn't happen. I don't do that in my movies. Like not yet, at least. Maybe down the road, I'm going to do a big action comedy and I'll push the level of that. But I think it's, for me, when I watch stuff, if I don't believe it, then it just boils my skin. So
yeah, well, it takes you out of the moment.
Yeah.
So like you're like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I want the audience to feel they're part of the story going forward with it. And so I don't want to take them out. So I try to keep things very true to how things really are. And that's why I'm saying I've kind of done these stories where they're very true to people and moments that have already happened. And now we're just kind of retelling those stories in a different way. You
mentioned that you were a child actor. So how has that really helped you with your directing?
Yeah. So, it's funny. I feel like you learn by making mistakes, right? And instead of like reading books and going to film school and everything else you do, my film school was acting as a kid, and even producing my first movie at 21 when we had no idea what we were doing. There was
I've been there.
I got into producing because a bunch of us actors were smoking cigars and playing poker up at a friend's house up on the hills, and they were very successful actors, and I was okay. I'd done like kid Power Ranger shows and stuff like that, but these guys were a much higher level. So we were all smoking, and during poker we just made a bet like, hey, let's just make our own movie. And so we all put our money into it and just made this film. And that was kind of like my film school, just seeing how it all came together. And I was like really in love with the process of it. And I loved acting, and I appreciate it. It's really hard, the ups and downs. And I love actors for going through that and staying with it. And so I reward them. But I personally was much happier behind the scenes. I don't really like the whole stardom on my personal life in front of everybody. I'm more private. If you can tell, looking me up, it's harder to look me up. But
yeah, during the research, you were, on IMDb, you're there, but on Google.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
It's okay. I figured.
Yeah, but my anyway, so that film, it was called Random Acts of Violence. That was the first movie that we did with these guys, and they were such cool guys. We had so much fun. And some of the guys still I stay in touch with now, but that movie, I did a young Gary Sinise one-day player on this movie, the championship, that championship season, with Paul Sorvino directing, and I got to play the young Gary Sinise for the day. And all through my youth of castings, they'd always say, you look like Gary Sinise. I always heard it. And of course, I get the call one day, hey, you're going to play the young Gary. And I was so excited. And I got to go into his trailer and give him my headshot and say, look, if you ever need a younger you again, here I am. And it was so cool, and he was nice. And then that was actually one of the last things I ever did as an actor. And then I just started getting into producing and casting movies, and I started directing little music videos and shorts and you know, whatever I could get my hands on as a kid. And then, you know, over time, producing and going in all the edit rooms and everything else, that helped me like really hone in the directing side of me.
Editing
took a long time.
So learning how to edit was very helpful in learning how to be a director. Like, do you see sort of that edit in your head while you're directing?
Absolutely. I took editing. I did editing for years as a kid, you know, in my 20s, just to kind of like figure it all out. I wanted to know all aspects. I even did first AD, you know, I did camera operating, you know, I did PA work. I worked under Dan Gutzelman, The Perfect Game, as a PA. I worked at The Pretender my friend was in the writing room as an assistant. And when he would leave town, I would cover him. And so I just wanted to learn everything. So I knew how it all worked.
You're right.
So I was a student of everything. Like, I was just a sponge. I just took it all in. I sucked it up. You know, it took a long time, but you know, now it taught me, you know, everything that I have now. And each film I do, I just feel like more and more it just kind of really makes sense. And now it's just become second nature, and it's fun. You know, I don't even think about it anymore. I just do it, and it's a great feeling.
Right. You said with Crescent City that it all came together really fast. Like, so how fast is fast to you? Like, in movie making, that
you're gonna laugh. My producers and the film commissioner was like, "You have 2.5 weeks left to prep." What? Like, you just got here. We had to go because the SAG waiver came in. It took a while to get it, and then we had a window with the actors all together, and so we had to cram it in. And everybody was shocked because we were originally going to Vegas. Because I've shot 3 movies, and I love Vegas. I love the crews. It's a second home to me. It's a lot closer to Los Angeles. But what a surprise Little Rock was. It was amazing. The film commissioner, the people there, they opened the town to us. They gave us the police force. You know, the mayor, we met at the cigar lounge there. I mean, it was such a fun experience. We want to go back. I think we're going back in like 2 months for another production now, but I mean, it was just, I was so shocked how much I loved it. And I love Little Rock, and the film community there is really growing, and they're really talented crew there as well. I mean, Vegas has a great crew as well, but I loved it. It was great.
You mentioned that you've done comedy, you've done, you know, drama. What's your favorite? And then which one's sort of more difficult to you? Or if so?
I would say comedy is the hardest thing to do. And Don't Suck was the second film I directed. And, you know, Jamie Kennedy and Matt Rife has just become this mega star, which I knew he was. Like, he's phenomenal. And this is all like a shout out to Jay Davis. I've known him forever. He even gave me like my first bar job in Hollywood. And he helped me when I was a young actor trying to make it. And he was running the Laugh Factory at the time. And Rick D'Elia pitched me this project in Vegas when I went out to go see a show, and I met him. He said, "Look, I have this really great script. It's this vampire comedy." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this sounds terrible." It sounds like the worst movie ever. But I watched his stand-up that night, and he was so good. He was so funny. And I loved him as a person. I was like, you know, I'm going to read it. So the next day, hungover from Vegas, I read the script, and I couldn't put it down. And it was such a great script. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to pitch this, but I love this movie. So then we talked about putting it together, and over time we did it. And Jay Davis said, look, you got to come to the show and watch Matt Rife, this young kid. He's really talented. So I take my wife and we go to the show, and we saw Matt. We're like, yep, that's the guy. And we, you know, he was so cool and young and humble. And what happened next? Oh yeah. So he did self-tape for us and knocked out of the park. He was perfect. And so we had Jamie Kennedy, we had Matt Rife in there, and then a really close friend of mine, Higa Machado, introduced me to Russell Peters.
Okay.
And so I went up to Russell Peters' house. We smoked a cigar. We talked about everything, music, everything else. He was like, all right, I'll do this with you guys.
Cool.
So that worked out. Yeah, Higan's a great friend of mine. And Ellen Hollman came through, a really good friend of mine, Lauren Shaw, who's a stunt coordinator, actor as well, and producer. She's amazing. And it's just always about these people connecting the dots and introducing us to the right people. And Ellen was just fresh off of the new Matrix.
Okay.
And so she was phenomenal as Jamie Kennedy's girlfriend in the movie.
Yeah, it's funny
So,
you mentioned Jamie Kennedy. Actually, one of my friends is his assistant.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, his name.
That's funny.
Should I say her name on there? Is it Alyssa?
No. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
We'll whatever.
anyway, yeah. No, Jamie. By the way, we became like brothers. He's such a better golfer than me. I can't stand it. But we have, he's such a cool guy, and yeah, we're really excited about the release of Don't Suck. It's going to come out December 1st on all the VOD platforms, and it'll be in like selected theaters all over America, from Dallas, Austin, Atlanta.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
How
LA.
important is getting a theatrical release these days? Because not every movie does that now.
Well, funny, I think the audience members are changing their way of attention spans, as we keep being told, which is kind of unfortunate in my opinion, but I still love the theater. So if your movie can make it to the theaters at all, I feel like that's a win, even if it's more of a selected small group of them. But I think it's very important just for me, just to know that people can see it on the big screen. Because when we screened Don't Suck in Vegas at the theater, it was such a different experience than watching it on, your 50-inch or 70.
Well, yeah, because especially with comedy, I know everyone has a different sense of humor. Like I have a very dark sense of humor. And when I went to watch what movie, it was a Coen brother movie, Burn After Reading. There's only me and one other person in the audience when I think it was John Malkovich puts an axe in somebody's head. And me and this other guy and we just start busting up. Okay. We're like, and no one else in the theater laughed. And we were just like, okay, we're
yeah, what's funny about that? It's like there was laughs that I got from certain scenes that I didn't even expect.
Yeah,
and some
exactly.
of the moments that I thought were funny were not as funny for the audience, and I'm like, so it just really depends on each, like you said, it just depends on each audience member, right? But it was great to see like a theater packed full of people, and they were really enjoying the film, and I'm like, okay, so I feel like we got something here. It was a labor of love. We did 2 movies during COVID where it was extremely low budgets and a little bit of crew because you just couldn't have a lot of people because you were afraid you're going to get shut down if someone tested positive for COVID. And so we kept our crews really tight and small, and we all had to do a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
You've already sort of illustrated throughout our interview so far how important, just knowing people is and networking. Could you sort of elaborate more on like how important networking and building those relationships has been to your career?
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot of it comes down to trust, right? It's like, you have to they got to know you're not one of these one timers that's coming in with this big story and this whole thing, and it just doesn't happen or it falls apart. So you gotta have to earn the respect of trust first. But there's so many different ways that people come into this, to this business and make it. If you're a young producer and you're very eager, you either have to have a really good, strong piece of IP or a really good book rights, or you have to, another way to really get in there is to know how to raise money. I mean, money is so key to this. And then learning
do it without the money.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, like some people come in with like some big financiers and they just paint the town red. They do it all. I mean, it's impressive. And some people, it takes a long time to learn how to raise money.
And what is the secret to raising money? Is there a secret? Can you tell us?
I honestly think that if you truly believe in the story and you're passionate about it, and there's a sexiness to the Hollywood business. Now, I've learned how to make money and I've learned how to lose money. And that's why now I've gotten into the point where now we're doing film finance, because I've made money, I've lost money, and I know exactly how to see how films are making money now and how they lose money. Okay. And so this segues into what I just started with this company with a bunch of other partners we're starting with. But it's called Elevate. It's literally, we're literally closing all the legal documents this week, and this film fund is starting. And we've just learned that we're essentially like a bank lender, but we know how to close fast, and we're going to take chances on certain things, but it's really collateralizing the movies from having minimum guarantees for the distributors, for domestic. It's having the right foreign sales companies and the tax credits. And those 3 entities are how you finance movies.
Right. What is the best piece of advice someone has given to you in your career so far?
Shut up and listen. So, I mean, literally, like, when you're young, you really think you know it all. And as you get older,
Yes.
you realize that you don't know anything. And everything you learn, you keep relearning. And it's just a constant learning process. So the more you're open to listening to people around you, when you're a young, eager director or producer, you think you know it all and you don't necessarily think you need to listen. But I mean, I luckily have had a chance to work on some pretty big productions where I was more, let's just say, like a PA or a visitor on set, and very big directors. And their HODs, or heads of departments, we're talking to the director and giving them ideas sometimes. And it's not like, directors, I think the best directors are ones that can also be open to listening to their team and trusting them. And, my attitude is this: if I'm shooting a scene and someone comes up to me and tells me something that's like something I didn't even think of that makes it so much better, why would I not use that?
Right.
You have to be open to good advice, but also, respecting your crew and people and everything else is all part of that. And if you trust your departments, your heads, and they're doing their job, it just makes yourself look even better. So I'm always an open book to that. Like, be open to, criticism, be open to people telling you ideas. And there's some nice ways to say, oh yeah, okay, let me think about, or something like that. But you don't have to always do it, but the right ones are really going to make you better. So I think it's a collaboration of a lot of different people. I don't even think like a director is the end all be all to anything. I think it's a collaboration of a lot of great people together.
Yeah, you have a whole team of people. And how much does like the idea of what you think the movie is going to be like during your prep and pre-production, and then when you get to set, so you just sort of let it organically come, like you have a guideline and then you sort of just go with the flow? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, so the DP and I get together and we do our shot list and we create what the emotions are going to be and what we want out of each scene. And then, like you said, they do evolve, but we have a pretty good idea. Now it's just, that's experience, right? The more and more, there's certain shots that I really have to have for inserting CGI and effects into it. So we really plan out those shots even more in detail, and we're shooting our plates and stuff like that. But I think it evolves sometimes, but it's pretty close to what we usually want. And then you'll get those little hidden buttons where these actors come in and just give you something even on top of that you didn't expect, and it blows you away. And those are the magic moments.
Right. Are there any opportunities that you've had in your career that you said no to that later in hindsight you wished you had said yes to?
Yeah, I can tell you a few scripts that I passed on putting money into that made over $200 million in the box office and worldwide that you regret. I don't want to name things, but yeah, there's been moments. Yeah, especially as a financier, producer as well. There's some projects that I am kicking myself in the head for not taking.
Why didn't you take those? Was there something about it that just didn't resonate with you, or?
Well, it's, there's some movies that are risky, but they're worth it in the end. And sometimes when you have some finance groups that you're working with, if they don't want to take that risk, they won't take those movies. And yeah, I've had a few of those come by. And then I had one that I was negotiating a deal, and the legal side of it stopped it from happening. But I mean, look, you're going to have those, and you can't look at your life and go, I made a mistake for that one. It's just whatever reason, like, things happen the way they're going to happen in your life. That's the way I look at it.
Right. Well, you can't live in the past. You have to just keep going forward. So
yeah. But yeah, the answer is I've done this a few times.
Good to know. How do you decide what to say yes to when you're looking for a film or a screenplay?
I think it's something that's going to challenge me, and it's something different that I haven't already done. That's kind of it's weird for me. It's like, if I can't put a script down and it moves me and makes me just super excited, I can't stop thinking about it. Those are the kind of projects I'm looking for. And I'll be honest, I read so many scripts, and usually by page 20 or 30, I'm either like, I can't keep reading, or I just can't put it down. Right. And and then I share it with a few trusted colleagues. Right. And if they all kind of share the same thoughts, I mean, I went to bat on one script that other people didn't agree with me on, and that one turned out really well. But it's usually a team effort. But I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do next, and it's all about just the writing and how I'm feeling when I'm reading it. And if I can't stop thinking about the story after that, that usually makes me want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it stays with you.
Mm-hmm.
What would your biggest tip be to someone that was wanting to move to LA and pursue a career in filmmaking?
I would tell them to turn around and go home. I'm just kidding. I'm just totally kidding. No, I would say that just come out open-minded, be ready to work hard and spend a lot of time on it, because it's not an easy road and it's not a fast fix. You have to put the time in. You got to learn it. You have to own it. You have to keep doing it. You're going to fail. You're going to be told you can't do it. And if you keep pushing past those no's that are constantly in front of you,
Right.
You can't do this, you can't do that, and you just keep showing and proving that you're just going to keep doing it, and they can't keep knocking you down. I mean, I've been punched in the face so many times it feels like, and I just keep moving forward. And that if you're open to doing that and being open to failing, that's where you're going to be okay down the road if you keep pushing forward.
Having that perseverance and grit to just keep
I
going
mean,
no matter what.
All hours of the day and night. Sometimes it drives my wife crazy, but I mean, I'm a workaholic.
Right. Well, I think you need to be that way especially in this industry. I don't know about others, but definitely in this one. So what are you most grateful for in your career?
Wow. It's funny. I'm grateful for my wife, my mom. What else? The trust that they've put into me over the years to my craziness. And I'm grateful for my friendships I've built. I'm grateful for the producers I'm working with. I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I keep getting, and it's like this last movie I directed was by far the biggest movie of actors and for me as a director. And it was like a gift from God. And I was like, thank you. And I just keep moving forward. But no, I'm grateful for a lot of things. It's just the opportunities keep coming. And I'm grateful for the friends I've made in this business and allies, and for all the doubters and people that try to just knock you down. Just got to keep getting past them. And you're swimming with the sharks out here in Hollywood, but there's a lot of great ones too. You just got to find the right people. Yeah.
In regards to filmmaking, who or what inspires you, and what is the favorite movie that you have done?
Someone else asked me that question about the favorite movie, but I'll say, I love Tarantino for his honesty, his craziness. He just does what he wants. He doesn't care. His freedom, he gives his talent. He's a good person to admire. And I love David Fincher's style, from his music to his stylistic to everything. Is with him, it's he's a post maniac. I mean, just the visuals that he pulls off with all the effects that you don't even know he's doing in each shot. It's so incredible. God rest Tony Scott's life, but Man on Fire was, I think, a perfect movie. True Romance was one of my favorite movies. Scarface, Godfather. I mean, there's Top Gun as a kid, Back to the Future, Goonies. I love family adventure stories too. I actually love The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. The simplicity of that movie and the fun ride he puts you through, and he's so just likable as a character. And I got to meet him and take him to a Laker game, and Brendan was one of the nicest, sweetest guys. I mean, he is. And I'm so happy that he's made his resurgence again, because he's such a good being. But there's just a lot of different people like that affect you, and it just kind of gives you hope that in this business there's a lot of good people behind the wall of the agents and everybody that blocks you from people. And they have to protect their clients, make sure they're in the right hands, and I respect that process. But it's once you got to break through those walls and you start to work with these people, it really is. It does become a different experience than when you're fresh and new and everybody's kind of saying you don't have anything to show me.
Right. Do you have a shout out to anyone that's really been instrumental in helping you or slapping you or pushing you along the way?
Yeah, it's it's funny, but there's a lot of people along the way that have really kind of helped in certain ways, and some that didn't even realize they helped. From even a producer that I worked with that kind of put me through the ringer, but he didn't even know. He was he was teaching me what not to do. What to do. But I would say there's an agent that I really appreciated at the time. Her name was Christina De Souza, but she ended up marrying and becoming Christina De Souza Geld. but she was a very helpful agent for me when I was kind of starting to really get into my stride of producing. But she was very helpful.
How so? How was she helpful?
Opening the doors. She would go, I'm going to introduce you to this person. I'm going to help you with this thing. She just was very helpful, you know, and it's like, for me, I don't ever forget the people that believed in you and helped you regardless of what other people may have thought, or he was not experienced enough or whatever else, but she was very helpful in that sense. Helen Lee Kim, she's now a Lionsgate head of international sales, but she was with Good Universe for a while. She was very instrumental in teaching me everything. She was such a nice person to me in the business. She still is. Right. You know, Helen, I met Helen through my old partner, Justin Begnod, at when we were a global film group together. But we made one of the films I'm very proud of, to be honest, out of all the things you asked me, the True Memoirs of an International Assassin.
I love that movie. That movie was good.
I mean, look, I love Kevin James. He's such a good soul. What a great, amazing actor. He's so fun. We had this amazing script that my friend Jeff Morris, he said, I read the script a while back and it was taken, and then the company went under and wanted to turn around, and he called me and said, if you're still serious about the script, you have 24 hours to get it. So we raised the option money that day, called him the next day and said, I'll take it. And he had a phenomenal director attached to it, fresh off of a huge hit on the theaters. And so we were like, this is a no-brainer. And we took it to Good Universe. They loved it. They signed on right away. And we were off to the runnings. And then we had to change directors just because of timing. And then we got Kevin James. And when Good Universe went to go sell this at Cannes, Ted Sarandos came and he said, we want the world now, don't sell it. And then the movie basically went from an independent budget to a studio style film with Netflix. And it was a third original production with Netflix. And we got to work with Todd Gardner, the big senior producer. He came on and really kind of showed us the ropes, and he was amazing. And it was just such a great experience. And it showed me like what a big studio budget feels like to work with. That was the biggest film budget wise I worked on. And it was when we were kind of up and coming producers, and it was a great experience. And it definitely kind of tipped the hat for my productions and really kind of paved the way for us to put our name out there.
What's the biggest difference between like a big studio production versus an indie production other than money?
The difference is, well, independently, you're answering to the investors, but they're usually more kind of like, I would say less hands-on, right? A studio, you have the execs that all have their opinion on everything, and you have to, learn how to navigate that with the creatives. And so there's that kind of, the creatives want one thing, the executives want one thing. On an independent film, it's a little bit of an easier mesh together. Okay. Usually we have a lot more freedom to do whatever we want. Now in studio films, obviously you're dealing with the executives and all their notes, and everybody has to kind of collaborate and listen. And then there's the lead actor. Kevin James had some great notes in the script that he wanted for his character, and Jeff Wadlow did those notes, and Todd Gardner helped that. And I just learned by watching Todd and these guys work together and how they put it together. Obviously, we set up the original part of the film and we helped produce it all the way through. But it was a great learning experience for me. And I'll never forget that experience, because it was amazing to see that I fought for that script and I got it and really made that thing happen. And it was, it was a great feeling.
Of course. Congrats.
Thanks.
When it comes to the notes, what happens if, there's just disagreement on the notes? Like,
what happens? Someone's got to be in the middle and mediate it and get.
And how does that work?
That's a lot of massaging. That's a lot of cigars or drinks or meals or discussions. But usually we find a happy medium between everybody. Okay. It does take a little bit of finagling sometimes, but usually it works out pretty nice. That's my political way of saying it. But no, I mean, it's just a juggle. You just have to juggle the business. So there's two parts of this business. There's the creative side, and then there's the business side. And if people don't respect the business side, then the creative, this is why things fall apart or don't happen. So if you can know how to navigate between both of these and make them work, that's what a producer. I mean, if what is the? I'm sorry, the amazing show. I just kind of watched it on Paramount Plus. The Offer. Okay.
Oh, someone mentioned that to me. I have to watch it. I have not watched it yet.
Filmmaker, director, whatever. Just watch that and watch what that producer had to go through to get that movie made, The Godfather. It's an amazing story. It says a lot about what we deal with. But I didn't have to deal with the mob trying to kill me. So thank God.
Well, that's a plus.
Yeah, but no, it's just, I mean, look, you just have to be really a problem solver and know how to navigate through people's personalities. That's a lot of the business, you know, to be honest.
It's just navigating and knowing how, you know, different personality types respond differently to things and using different tactics.
Yeah, you just have to kind of like play devil's advocate, but just usually try to stay as much in the middle as possible to listen to both sides and try to make it work. That's the best advice I can give you. I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds, believe me, but that's usually what we end up having to do a lot of.
What's your next project that you're doing?
Well, you know, it's funny. We have a whole slate of projects from thrillers. I love action comedies. I've been wanting to do something big like the True Memoirs movie again. I have a pretty big action comedy with Millennium that we are still setting up. I have a boatload of thrillers, and you know, I have another action comedy I want to do called Treasure Beach that my good friend Josh Cohen wrote. He actually passed away, unfortunately, last year. So Edward and I want to make sure that movie goes, but it's a fantastic, fun ride. But yeah, we are into the action films, action comedies, thrillers, and sci-fi thrillers. Those are pretty much our sweet spots right now.
Okay. And
the budget ranges from, you know, 5 million to, you know, 40 million. But yeah, we're in the independent space, and we are pretty savvy at raising financing and packaging projects now. So we're having a good time right now.
I know you said you're private, but is there a way for us to find you online?
So on Instagram, at Director RJC. Yeah, you can message me on Instagram there. You know, I appreciate people that really fight for their storytelling. So if we bump into each other or I hear about something, I'm happy to always look at things if I can. We're pretty busy, but I'm always open to circumstance, you know, so.
To the networking and serendipitous moments, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, RJ. You gave us a lot of insightful information and some good stories. So thanks so much.
Well, thanks so much.
And see you out and about somewhere.
Yeah, so everybody, don't forget, December 1st, look out for Don't Suck. Matt Rife, Jamie Kennedy, Russell Peters, Carrot Top, Jimmy Schubert, Ellen Hollman, and a bunch of others. It's an amazing, fun cast. And I look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time. Bye. Thanks.